People who suffer from multiple sclerosis never really know what kind of day they're going to wake up to. Their physical symptoms can be all over the map. And then there's the added stress of wondering whether or not a good treatment is within reach. Last week's news of a study out of McMaster University may have dashed those hopes for some. The research casts doubt on so-called liberation therapy, a controversial procedure that focuses on blocked veins leading to the brain. Christopher Alkenbrack had the treatment 3 years ago in Poland. He lives just outside of Wolfville.
Good morning, Christopher.
Hi, Don. How are you?
Great, thanks very much. How are you these days, by the way?
I'm doing very well.
Are you? Good.
Yeah, well, it's been 3 years and 3 months, actually, since my treatment, and you interviewed me directly from Poland 3 years, 3 months ago today.
Really?
Yes.
What do you make of this research last week?
Well, first of all, we have to put it in context. It wasn't, the headline said it debunked the theory of CCSVI. It didn't really debunk anything. When I see something like that, I pull all the information that I can get on the study, and I read what's going on. And the McMaster study was led by a pharmacologist, Dr. Ian Roger. He used 20-year-old equipment to assess CCSVI. Zamboni has already given Dr. Zamboni, the original person who discovered CCSVI and wrote about it in the medical literature, has already replied to the medical journal in an editorial and, saying that they used faulty methodology and equipment. So I don't think this study really changes my mind or anybody else's mind who keeps up to date on the research whether CCSVI exists. I think we closed that door a few years ago. Dr. Robert Zvadnov from the University of Buffalo led the largest CCSVI study, and he's a neurologist, and he stated, we now know that CCSVI exists, and that is not unique to MS. So it's not only MS, but possibly other neurological conditions as well.
But what do you make what seems to be a growing divide between those people who feel it almost transcends science and gets to be faith? You believe what you believe, and opponents of the therapy or skeptics of the therapy believe what they believe. What's your emotional response when you heard the report last week?
My emotional response? Well, I try not to be emotional about it anymore. I can say a few expletives, but I won't on the air.
Please.
It's not. I think what we're seeing, Don, is that the debate that normally takes place in medical journals between researchers is now taking place in the public forum. It's now taking place in the media. And we're seeing both extremes. And is this a faith-based treatment? I don't think so. The National CCSVI Society has actually, there's a charity in Canada, a recognized charity, and we have a conference in September, and one of our presenters is Sean Sethi from Dr. Hickey's team. Now, Dr. Hickey has developed a protocol for assessing not only CCSVI but other venous abnormalities in MS patients. And it's interesting. I'm just reading a one-line quote from Sean's presentation. It said, "The research is not speculative. Imaging specialists use quantifiable measurements and calculations to substantiate their findings. Sean will provide us tangible evidence that will put to rest the idea that CCSVI does not exist within the MS population."
But ironically, there is, and it goes to this issue of whether it's faith-based or not. We could trot out at least as many scientists to say there's no question some people have enjoyed significant recovery, and you are a classic example of it. But the science is not there to support anything other than the possibility of a placebo effect, or, it's not like all the science is on your side and there's no science on the other side, as if there was some conspiracy against liberation theology. Liberation theology is a different thing. Liberation treatment.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's, well, first of all, I really don't think it's faith-based. They're finding abnormalities, and it is true. Like, we're hearing, for example, certain doctors and neurologists in the Canadian media that say a new study comes out every week that debunks the theory. But what they're not saying is they're giving you half the truth. elsewhere in the world, the new studies coming out every week that proves the theory. So that's why I said that the debate that normally takes place in medical journals is taking place in the public forum now. And is it faith-based? Well, I wouldn't think so. I know personally several Canadian doctors who have had this treatment and who have been, and I'll only give names of those that have, done media interviews and so forth. There's Dr. Bill Code, who is the medical director of the National CCSVI Society. He has MS. He was treated. Dr. Ron Unger, in fact, the morning that you did my interview 3 months ago, I had coffee with Dr. Ron Unger 2 days previous to that. He's a Canadian physician from British Columbia, and the only reason I mention his name on the air is because he has done media reports, so it's already been out there. He had treatment for CCSVI. Dr. Suzanne Roy from the Vallée du Richelieu in Quebec had treatment for CCSVI. She's another Canadian physician with MS. Dr. Matthew Nome. And there's even one unidentified Canadian neurologist who had treatment for this condition. And he said in an email that was actually reported in the Hansards of the Parliament, he said, if we had collected the evidence in a registry for the last many months, would we still be calling this anecdotal evidence?
But on the other hand, Christopher, I'm just reading from the Globe report last week from the research as a result of the Ian Rogers research report last week, and I'm going to quote him. We saw absolutely no evidence of CCSVI in the MS patients, Dr. Rogers said. I've been in research a long time, and it's rare that you find results as black and white as ours.
Okay, that's fine. However, he did not use the protocol that Zamboni put forward. He stated that his technicians were trained in Italy, and that may be true. However, they used 20-year-old equipment. They did not use the equipment that's being used by the Zamboni team, okay? And they did not look at several of the criteria for diagnosing CCSVI. So when we look, and I'm not, these are not my opinions, these are facts stated by Dr. Zamboni himself and by the team in Italy. And other research worldwide, for example, Dr. Robert Zavadanoff, like I just stated a few moments ago, he said, we now know that CCSVI exists, and it's not unique to MS. Even Dr. Trabulsi, Dr. Anthony Trabulsi, neurologist, who is leading the first Canadian interventional trials, he called into question the findings of this study.
We only have a minute left, and we've touched on this, I think, probably in almost every interview we've had in the last number of years, you and I. What do you make of the fact that there's such a clear divide?
As a patient, I mean, I look at this as a patient. It's like, for me, it's a no-brainer. It's like it does improve quality of life. How else can one explain situations like a woman that I visited 2 weeks ago in Halifax, Joyce, my wife and I visited her. She used to be in a nursing home in a wheelchair. She had treatment for CCSVI. She's out of the nursing home, living independently, and she goes back and volunteers at the nursing home where she used to be a patient. So I know too many stories of people, and we can no longer say it's a placebo effect. It's been 3 years. A placebo effect doesn't last 3 years.
We'll have to leave it here for this morning, Christopher. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure, Don.
Good to talk to you.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Christopher Alkenbrack has multiple sclerosis. He sits on the board of the Canadian CCSVI Society, which is organizing a conference in Sherbrooke, Quebec in September.